All right, Heat and Cooking the Man Cave Classroom, analyzing some documents today. We have a poster.
I want you.
Another poster?
Rocky IV.
I thought I made a mistake.
No, I want you.
I want you.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Now, if we're looking at, all right, this is all very, very popular one. We have Uncle Sam here. He wants you. 1917.
Yeah.
And what does he want you to do?
Committee on Public Information. He wants you to join the United States Army. You know, my students, I know, talk about linear perspective.
Yeah.
No matter where you're standing, he's looking at you, and it's like he's staring into your soul. You know, and you walk by this poster in New York City, and you haven't volunteered yet. You know, and if you were in Britain, they'd be putting that white feather in your lapel. You know, calling you a coward. It hits home.
It does.
It's deep.
It does.
You know, so what's going on?
Well, 1917, it's World War I.
Mhm.
All right, we have people making sacrifices on the home front.
Yep.
You know, you have Herbert Hoover, food war in the war. People are going without meat, without wheat on certain days. And you do have a number of people who are volunteering, particularly men during this time period, to go and serve during World War I.
Yeah, you know, we got involved in the war for a couple of reasons. You know, we talk about the Lusitania being sank, 1915. We talk about the Zimmerman telegram being sent, January 1917. The unrestricted submarine warfare kind of pushes Woodrow Wilson's hand to ask Congress to declare war. Because remember, Wilson tried to keep us out of the war as long as he could. You know, he gets reelected in 1916 on that promise of he kept us out of war.
So those are all great examples of historical circumstances that led to this.
Led up to this.
Yeah, of course he gets reelected on the fact that he kept us out of the war, but then what eventually happens is that when you're looking at that continued use of unrestricted submarine warfare, the Zimmerman telegram, now we're in the war itself. Sussex Pledge, Germany didn't even follow it.
Nope.
So there we have it. These are the historical circumstances that kind of led to that,
Yep.
all of this going on. So now we have I want you. You could volunteer to serve in the military.
Because if you don't volunteer,
You're going to be voluntold.
You're going to be
so
voluntold.
if we look right here, a draft means you're required
Yep.
to serve in the military.
selective draft, kind of playing on the Selective Service Act of 1917.
And now they give us a date here, registered June 5th. All right, so do they give us a year just yet?
It doesn't say it on here, but
Right.
you know, it is 1917.
So now if we're looking at our audience, if you're between the ages of 21 and 30 years of age, do they give a gender just yet, or is it just assumed that it's male?
It's just assumed that it's males, even to this day.
Yep.
Females are not required to register for the draft. You know, you are not excused from this. You know, if you are crippled, married, or if you have dependents, you still need to register for the draft.
So now, some insensitive words they're using during
Yeah,
that time period.
absolutely.
You know, when you're looking at cripple, I think they also use, for example, when they were referring to immigrants here as aliens, this applies to all aliens as well as citizens. You probably wouldn't do that today, all right? Everybody must register. The draft will continue, the draft will come later, and then proper exemptions will be made. So in other words, if you are in a wheelchair or you're handicapped,
You're sick,
register.
you're a student. There are exemptions
Yeah, when
that
you
the
do-
government will decide,
Right.
not you.
Yeah,
not you.
When you show up that day, then they'll be able to sort that out.
Yes. What's it called? 4F?
I don't know.
I think if you were
forget
not,
what it was.
yeah, I think it's 4F if you're not in proper fighting condition.
Yeah, so if you're looking at exemptions, yeah, if you're certainly handicapped, I think if you were the only male left in your household, whatever the case would be, sometimes you hear about that. Men, when are sick, men who are away from home, and students should at once communicate with the clerk of courts of the county where they are now for instructions. All right, so the audience here is men between the ages 21 and 30, and they have
All
to-
men in
all
the
men.
United States, not just citizens at this point.
Right.
You know, even if you are not a citizen, you have immigrated here, and you're haven't become a citizen, you are still required to register for this draft.
And that's why they, of course, bring up the whole aliens thing when they're referring to immigrants.
It's kind of like the lottery you don't want to win.
You don't want to win it. All right. So if we look here, there's your audience. Who's the author of it? The United States government.
Yep.
What's the purpose? To get people to register for the draft, because if you don't, you know, there's certain repercussions that go along with it. Are we missing
Government's
anything in
job
this
is to
one?
protect our country, you know,
Right.
for the common defense.
And this is your
if-
civic
if our-
duty.
If our military is not at a adequate fighting force in the eyes of the government, they will force you into the military.
Okay, so we have audience, we have purpose in
Yep.
there as well? All right, good. Purpose to get people to register for the draft. Now, interestingly enough, if you put these two documents side by side, all right, one, they want you to volunteer. If we're talking about the similarities and differences, one, they want you to volunteer because they don't want to require or make you do it.
Do you find it ironic the sides of the smart board we're standing on right now.
Right.
One of us volunteered for the military.
Didn't even put
The
that.
other one didn't. But I
you-
did register. I
Did you
registered
register?
for the draft, absolutely, required to. You know, we are required by law, all men in this country, on your 18th birthday, or within a certain amount of time, you are required to register for the draft.
I
You know,
totally
and
forgot.
you get to similarities or differences, you know, one is asking people to volunteer, and the other one is telling people they have to join the military. You know, it couldn't get more cut or dry
Right.
than these two documents.
So when you look, and again, similarities and differences, I mean, here they're using a lot of emotions. They're definitely using emotions, making you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Kind of guilting you into it.
That
Here,
propaganda that played a huge role in World War One.
huge role. And here, you know, you're required. This is
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
You have to. Not a lot of options. Even if you're in a wheelchair, you will show up that day and they will decide if you're.
We want you, you have to.
You have
Big
to.
difference.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
Voluntold.
No, absolutely.
No getting around.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Anything else we're missing
No,
from this one?
that was
You go to the
pretty easy.
recruiting station as well. Great, perfect. All right, great. Well, thanks for watching.